After having covered Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands, I felt it was only appropriate to cover Parasol Stars as well, which is the story of Rainbow Islands 2, not a Bubble Bobble 3. Not entirely sure why they decided on the split there, but I suppose it is much more relevant to Rainbow Islands than it is to a Bubble Bobble, because of course in Bubble Bobble you were a bubble dragon and you got rid of that curse at the end of the game. This would be guesswork. I could look it up very easily, I suppose, but I'm too lazy for doing that kind of stuff. As a gamer, you shouldn't need to research the background on every single game you play, and I am fully aware that there are probably channels that will happily do a lot of background research and all that stuff, and that's perfectly fine, but I want to do more consistent with content, and as such I need to spend enough time to make a decent gameplay video to showcase the different games, but also not so much time that it becomes a month-long editing process, gathering all the information. And yeah, I mean, if you want deeper information, it is something that is easy enough to find, even though you need to double check your sources, because a lot of information available about most things in general, not just games, can be rather doubtful. Also a lot of talk about nothing. The thing is, as far as I can understand, this game was actually never an arcade version. Was it made? Was it just never released? I can't remember the details of it, but I'm fairly sure that this is considered to be a licensed but homebrew version of the continuation of Rainbow Islands by Ocean. And there's definitely a connection between Bubble Bobble, Rainbow Islands, and Parasol Stars. The theme is easily recognizable from Rainbow Islands. The elemental bubbles are back from Bubble Bobble. Some of the bonuses, which were unique to Bubble Bobble, are also seeing a return in Parasol Stars. And of course, the main character, Bubby, I'm fairly sure they're called Bub and Bob in Bubble Bobble. I could be mistaken. Of course, the sprite is very, very similar to the sprite used in Rainbow Islands, except for the fact that everything seems to be significantly larger, which initially I thought was going to be a jarring thing, but to be honest, it works quite well. It's definitely a lot more visually friendly. I suppose it gave the graphic artist the chance to be a bit more detailed with the design of the graphics. The music and the sound effects are cutesy, the graphics are cutesy and very, very good, to be honest. And as you probably gathered by now after reaching the end of the first world, the tool available this time is a parasol. And you can use the parasol to pick up enemies or elemental bubbles and throw them at enemies and other objects to pick them up. And then, just like in Bubble Bobble, you need to initially hit the enemies to knock them silly, and then hit them again to knock them out. World 1 was Musical World, and this is Fantasy World, with fantastical things like hollow trees and cars and unicorns and all sorts of other interesting characters. The Turbo Shoe or sneakers or trainers, whatever they're called, in Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands have made a return in this game, and the speed up you get in Parasol Stars is borderline silly. The first time I ever got this power up, I was rather surprised by the fact that my character suddenly ran around like he was rocket powered. Once you get used to it, it's not so bad, but that initial burst just was rather surprising. The different levels have different enemy types, and some enemy types are very generic types, like usually an indication is the larger the enemy is, the more resilient it is to being hit. Some of them will require to be hit by one elemental bubble, or you can pick them up directly by using your parasol, and other enemies require to be hit by multiple elemental bubbles or friends, because of course you can throw your friends at your enemy. You can throw former friends at the enemies in order to knock them silly. This level is just begging to be one shot, so let's do that. So I just had to clear my throat there. I'm still not fully up to par. Bubble Bobble was a 1 or 2 player game, and Rainbow Islands, of course, where you could play 2 players but not simultaneously. In Parasol Stars, you can play 2 players simultaneously, just like in Bubble Bobble. I never had the chance to experience doing that, but I could imagine that it would be roughly as enjoyable as Bubble Bobble in many ways, but also potentially frustrating, because of course you may notice that there are certain enemies that will send out lightning bolts or fireballs or something similar, and they will not cause you to lose a life, but they will temporarily stun you. And if my surmises are correct, I would not be surprised if throwing an enemy at the other player would probably temporarily stun them, allowing for some devious but silly situations where you could deliberately cause your friend harm, but you definitely would want to cooperate in a game like this. And I should probably mention, but there's a lot of things to talk about, and I'm trying to cover it all. The miracle we just got, as you probably noticed, converted all enemies into 100,000 points objects, which was rather brilliant. Good for your score. In Rainbow Islands, you had the gems you had to pick up in order to get the 2 rendering. In Parasol Stars, you are dealing with miracles. You need to get a certain amount of miracles in order to unlock a secret door at the end of a boss level, in order to get certain objects, and only if you get the objects from the secret door, from the miracles, will you be able to reach the true ending. So you can beat the game without beating it, which is, I suppose, it's a secret kind of thing. It's just to add a longevity to the game. Not necessarily a bad thing. I don't know. Again, just like with Rainbow Islands, it is only relevant to get the miracles if you can actually beat the game, or beat the game, I think it's called. Welcome to World 3, by the way, an underwater world, and this level is causing me tremendous issues. I am trying to rush instead of thinking about what I'm doing. Yeah, those are, I don't know what they are. The ones that are rather mad right now, they are hovering on you, and of course they are not able to move around edges, so they are stuck where they are at the moment. But trust me, as soon as you get anywhere where they can actually get a clean a line towards you, they will charge you rather quickly. The hurry up mechanic, just like in a Bubble Bobble, will spawn an invincible enemy thing that you have to deal with. It will chase you and hit you, and yeah, it's death. A spirit with a scythe, I think that's an indication that it's death chasing you. Right. But these penguin guys, I spent an awful lot of time failing to defeat, which was rather stupid. A bit of planning would have helped. What I should have done was I should have gotten rid of the small guys first, and then gathered large elemental bubbles in order to flush out the penguin guys, but I didn't. Oh well. I played this game somewhat in order to make a half-decent video out of it, but I possibly didn't play it in. I mean, the intention of my videos is to showcase the games, not necessarily complete them. I will make a special note if the intention is to complete them, and then I will upload completed versions of the games. But for most cases, it's a question of showcasing them more than anything else. And just like in the former games, or previous games, I should say, knowing how the enemy's location, spawn, movement is vital in order to complete the levels. In this level, we have to start by flushing ourselves down that drain in order to access the higher part of the level. On the left side, there is a beneficial item. In this case, it's invulnerability. It can be a bouncing thing that bounces around, knocking enemies silly. And without that, whatever bonus it is, you only have a limited time to get hold of bonuses before they disappear. Without that, this level becomes an absolute nightmare to defeat, because of course those large shells will keep spawning these male mermaids or divers or whatever they are. I find it very hard to identify. I didn't have time, I was too busy trying not to die in order to try to identify them. And after that level, we get this level, which is relatively simple. And sometimes I don't know whether it's intentional to give you a somewhat easier level after having struggled a bit, but the relative inconsistency in difficulty levels can feel a bit off at times, but I suppose you have to have some sort of relief when you are dealing with harder levels. Overall though, I think by and large that Parasol Stars is a worthy successor to both Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands. Claiming that I would prefer one over the other. I mean, when it comes to Bubble Bobble, the Commodore 64 version is by far the better one. There's no mistake, but trying to pick between the three games is a bit like picking between your children. Which one do you like the most? It's obviously not to the same level. I mean, let's face it, it's just a game, or just games, but you know what I mean. They are all in their own way very, very playable, very, very enjoyable, and this version is absolutely not bad. And I will spend a bit of time talking Ocean. Ocean Software released an awful lot of games, and I think it's fair to say that not all of the games they released was of the highest quality. It wasn't necessarily a question of sort of should the wall and see what sticks. Sorry about my wording, but you know what I mean. But I think that the biggest issue for Ocean Software was the fact that they did a lot of movie tie-in games, and through Imagine, which was their arcade conversion label, an awful lot of arcade conversions which were both of extremely doubtful quality. They got quite a bad rap for that, deservedly so, I would argue. But let's not forget that when Ocean got it right, they got it very, very right. Some of the worst games I've seen on the Commodore 64 and Amiga belongs to the Ocean label, but also some of the best games I've seen on both systems has the Ocean tag on it. So, on that note, I'm going to say thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.